Hey YouTubers, it's John Wright with Overlanding and Robotics, and a couple weeks back I bought myself a single zone refrigerator with an ice maker, and I use that. I power that with my portable power station, but I decided I wanted to be able to charge the power station if I was out wheeling for the day. That way I could go on longer trips. The power station would probably last me an entire weekend without doing that, but I decided to make that little upgrade to the GX. Decided to go with an inverter over a DC-DC solution. I might make another video about that, but this one is about how I did the install for the inverter. So with that, I hope you enjoy it, and if you're looking at doing something similar with your GX, this is how I outfitted the back of my GX with a little bit extra power. One of the first things you're going to want to do is, since we're going to run the power down the passenger side, is to pull out the little tabs and then remove this piece. Set that aside. And then we're going to be looking down here. We're looking for a way to go through the firewall. And it looks like this is a candidate right here. On the passenger side of the GX, we're going to want to, excuse the mess here, we're going to want to remove this panel. So there should be a Phillips screw right there. So I'm going to remove that, and hopefully this is going to pop down. Once the panel pops down, next thing you're going to want to do is you're just going to want to remove the light. So we'll just give this a little twist, and that should pop out. The LED, you can see it. There we go. And we can take that, set it aside. Now we can get up underneath the dash. Okay, so we're going to need to remove this piece of plastic. Okay, so grab your pry tool and just work your way along this edge. Okay, until you hear it slowly pop out. I start at the front and move my way all the way to the back. And then you should be able to pop it out. I've already loosened mine up. And, okay, we're gonna have to unplug this. Okay, and then we can set that aside, or you can just leave it here. That's where we're gonna run the new cables to the back. And we took that off so that we can get this off next. There is a retaining screw, okay, that's up at the front here. Right about, I don't know if you can see it in there. There it is. I already removed that and realized that this was underneath. So this should be able to pop off now. Let's see here, here it is. Okay, so we're getting closer. Okay, now we're gonna be able to try to see if we can find a way to pop through to the front. All right, pull back the carpet. You can see up in here, I can put my fingers up in here and I can feel the rubber boot with the top of my fingers. So I think I'm gonna poke an awl through there, create a hole, and then I'll be able to feed the wires through that hole that I'll see under the engine bay. Okay, so the plan is, what we're gonna do is, I'm gonna run a disconnect like I have on the other side over here, up on top of this piece of plastic that was sitting up over the top of where I'm going through the firewall. And so, got my 4-gauge wire. I'm gonna leave enough there so that I got enough to work with. And I've got 15-foot section here, and it should fit. If you can see, I got it kind of coming down along the outside of the truck, down, and you can see down here, running down to the floorboard, and coming around. So it comes up here, kind of got plenty of room, and it looks like I got enough room to come up. I just popped the seat here, and you can see that I'm gonna have enough to come up through the cup holder, which will have a couple holes drawn in it, and that'll go right to my inverter. Okay, just so if you're wondering how to get it through the firewall, because it's tight, what I did was I used it all to start with a small hole from inside, And then I took a larger screwdriver and poked it through from the engine side to widen that up. And then I had to use actually my knife just to kind of cut a little bit of a slit, you know, to give me some ability to push the wire through. It's tough because the wire is a little bit flexible. And then after the red went through, then I took just some duct tape and tied the black to it and pulled it through gently. And so I'm now ready to separate that, pull the rest of the black through, and move on to the next step. Okay, so now we are ready to start running our red and black cable through the channel. We're gonna go right underneath these clips and run it all the way straight back to the rear of the vehicle. Okay, using a small flathead screwdriver, take the clip, pry it out, do that all along the harness, the factory harness, and then we're gonna lay these cables right in there, and we're going to we're going to go on either side of that. We're just going to see if we can't snake that down in there like so, and do that. There we go. Boy, that 4 gauge is about, glad I didn't go with heavier gauge. There it goes. Oh. We'll get that guy. And we're going to continue that on, and then we're going to have to take off, you know, the trim in the back of the truck. Okay, you've got 2 10 mil nuts or bolts here that have to come up, and these are the you have to pry these out, these little tabs with a screwdriver, and then you got to remove these guys. Come out. Let's get the rear one. Looks good. Should be able to pop this up. I can. I'll just set that aside. Up there. Okay. So now I should be able to pop this guy off and run the cables up under the pillar. Okay, trying to find a way to kind of get the bolt underneath this guy is a bear. Now we are able to snake it under this black one underneath the lip here by just prying this up. But there's just not enough room. So you're gonna have to pop off this pillar cover, and to do that, you're gonna have to remove the seat belt. So this cover, plastic cover that was on there, just snaps off, pops off. And we're gonna remove that. And then we're gonna run the wire through, and then we're going to put it back together. Part of the reason why I have to take it all the way off, though, maybe you can avoid this, removing this, is that I lost one of the little clips. The white clips fell down in the center, so I'm gonna have to fish that out because I don't want it rattling around on me. So being fussy. Okay, so it was down in this little hole here, so be careful when you're doing this. I had to fish it out. Thank goodness for one of these eyes here, you know, these little plunger ends that you can go fishing for small things behind your dryer or whatever you use it for at the house. But I got a hold of it. Now I can start to assemble back. Whew. Probably easier just to take this panel off to begin with and just pry it along here and take that seatbelt bolt off, and then it'll be a lot easier from the beginning. Okay, we're getting closer, so got the pillar back on. We're all good there. We are going to remove the seatbelt, okay, with the bolt, same as before, and I believe that's a 14 mil, and we're gonna have to remove the handle here. I've already started it. These are there's a couple covers, and you're gonna have to use your screwdriver to pry those off, and they look like this. And then we're gonna use some 2 10 millimeter bolts there we are on the inside of that. You could use a screwdriver, but I'm using the 10mm socket. Okay, so the next thing you're going to want to do is remove the plastic panel piece that's right here above your cup holder. And you could take out the cup holder part, but that just pops out with a screwdriver or one of your wrenches there. Okay, when your plastic removal pieces can do that. One mistake I made, don't take this out first, because when you pop this off, it went right down in there. So this thing has saved me twice today. So this little grabber that I use primarily in the laundry room of the house to grab socks and whatever else falls behind the washer dryer. Boy, that is indispensable for today. So anyway, your stock inverter is down underneath here. You can get to it, but it's not a lot of room, and that outlet in the back is useless. So that's why we're going to mount our big inverter up here and run the power wires down through the cup. We're going to drill a hole in the bottom. All right, let's go on to the next step. Okay, bolt back on, put the cover back on. Another 10mm here, 10mm here, put the covers on. Put your seat belt back in. Okay, put that bolt back in. Everything else should have just buttoned up nice and smooth along the edge there. I got to tuck in my little bit of the rubber gasket there, but she's coming together. And put on the sills, and then we're off to the mounting of the inverter. Okay. Okay, last but not least, okay, you're gonna wanna put your cover back underneath your glove box, and don't forget to put the screw in right here. There was a little light that you had to reconnect, but that was pretty easy. That went in pretty easy. So, okay, picking up where I left off, instead of putting another disconnect up here on this side, like I have across the way near the battery, what I'm decided to do instead was to put a fuse breaker. So I don't know if you can see this, but this is an 80 amp fuse breaker here by Bussmann, and I'm about ready to land my red wire. Okay, I crimped on a lug on the end of it and put some heat shrink tube, and we're gonna run that, and then we're gonna run the red over to the disconnect, because we can run, that's a 600 amp disconnect, so I think that's plenty for the whole vehicle. So I have on the disconnect right now, I have my winch, I also have my fog lights, and I will also have the inverter off of that. So all separate. So anyway, that's what we're gonna do now, is we're gonna land this wire, okay, and then this 4 gauge, and then we're gonna run another red wire over to the disconnect, and I'll show you that when I get to it. Okay, so we have the wiring in the front and the engine bay all complete, and you see I ran the red and the black wires, okay, that go to the rear of the truck all the way, 4 gauge all the way around and underneath the cover, and I tied in my red wire here. It goes into my disconnect, and my new negative is going to the battery, that one right there. So you might ask, like, why am I doing red and black? Why don't I just ground it to the firewall? That was something I considered, but I don't know. I guess that's just the way I've always done these kind of projects, and I like to keep them totally isolated. Looks like I do have a fairly good ground wire okay, from the battery going to the chassis. But you know, also it's concerned with the potential of maybe ampacity. What is the maximum amount of amps that can flow through that wire? Looks like about 4 gauge. I didn't do any extensive testing on it. I just prefer to run it this way. Maybe I've heard issues about noise. I don't know if there would be really that much noise associated with running the ground through the chassis, but I think it comes down to preference. So anyway, we're going to be moving next to the rear of the truck, and we're going to be looking at how to wire up the inverter. Okay, we're all wired up, ready for a test run. I got my inverter, red and black, connected up, and I just have it temporarily down here. Eventually going to mount it up here. I'm going to put some hardware in there and come up with a solution. But I want to test it, want to fire it up and see how it goes. Just take a moment here to let you know I've used these, this is a new set of Crimper tool and a pair of cutters that came with it off of Amazon. It was pretty reasonable. I want to say it was around $30, and they're adjustable, and you go ahead and push these in when you open it up, and you can change the size of the lug that you're crimping on. It has worked really well with the non-coated lugs that we used. I did have a one spot where I had to put an extra length of black cable to the battery up in the front, and I used a coated, you know, plastic over the top lug, and I had to use one size bigger in order for that to happen, to make that nice and smooth. But it's really easy to use and makes good crimps. I'm really happy with that. Okay, so we're about ready to test. I'm gonna fire it up and see how she goes. Okay, so we are all hooked up here. We've got our outputting on the inverter, okay, about 13.7 under load, 122 volts AC, 60 hertz, pure sine wave, and we are charging at 84 watts, okay, on my power station. It's 97% full, so I'm limited to about 100 maximum watts. Probably have to plug in a load and pull that down a little bit more to see a full 100, but I'm happy with that. 84 is what I would get if I had this plugged into the house outlet. So same here as it would be in your home. So I'm pretty happy with that. I would only have about maybe 40 watts if I was running just through the cigarette plug, because we're limited how many amps that can output. So I think this is going to be much faster. Some models you can get aren't as limited to 100. I think 100 is good for longevity, but it's not a quick charger, but it's still much faster than I would have had. So I'm all about this inverter solution. Okay, it's relatively inexpensive. You got a couple expansions, you can run other things up to 500 watts, AC plugs, and USBs, and so on the back of here. So looking forward to using this and powering my refrigerator out of this 12 volt socket. So in essence, what I'm really doing here is I'm taking my 12 volts, I'm running it up to 120 with this inverter, and then I am changing that back down to 20 volts with this brick, which feeds into here because this is lithium phosphate, okay? And the phosphate batteries require a higher voltage, okay, in order to charge. So that's one of the limitations of trying to just plug this directly into your cigarette plug without using some type of DC-DC converter to buck up the voltage. So this is a kind of an easy, inexpensive, and practical way if you're looking for expansion. You just got to find a good place to mount your inverter. So hope that helps you with the project. Next step is to put the refrigerator in here, clean this all up, kind of mount this guy up, and then hopefully end out the video. Okay folks, we got our first real test with our portable refrigerator, freezer / ice maker from Uhomey, and we've got it hooked up, and I've actually had to turn it down so I can make sure that it's continuously pulling down while I can record this, because it cools pretty quick. But we are plugged in, okay, to the 12 volt socket on the power station, and we are at 37 degrees right now, but I have it set down to like 25 for this test. Pulling 13.7 from the truck, and 122, 123, somewhere in that range for volts AC, 60 hertz sine wave. We have 84 watts coming in, and we are drawing 49. So there we go. Everything seems to be working just perfect. Okay, we're bringing in more power, okay, while we're driving, while we're out exploring for the day, and then we are consuming. And remember that the refrigerator isn't on continuously. Okay, it'll actually turn off and hold for, 10, 15 minutes before it tops a little bit. So that, about 5-degree swing from the target on the refrigerator. So there will be times when we are just, 10, 15 minutes at a time where we're just pumping in to charge into the portable station. So hopefully at the end of the day, I'm topped off, okay, after a long day on the trails. All right, next thing you know is we got to put this in, gotta mount that sucker up on the stop there and get everything in here and finish it. Okay, everyone, it's a nice sunny day and I'm about ready to load the GX and head out to World's End State Park for a little camping and overlanding trip. Probably gonna go over and see the PA Grand Canyon. And we are about ready to go and try out, okay, the new inverter, okay, before I load everything in the truck and put the refrigerator, freezer, ice maker right where it's going to sit right about where I am right now, and put everything, all the gear in here, including my bed, the cot, all that stuff. I thought maybe I'd show you how I mounted it. So if you look real close here, I decided to go with these Isolator mounts, okay, that I found on Amazon. I will put the information in the description below. And I just use some flat washers underneath. You pull out the cup holder, that's where the wire is running through underneath it. And then if I switch it around to this side here, you can see a good shot of how the cable, the 4 gauge wire comes up and mounts to the back of the inverter. And it came out really slick. So I really like this. I think it looks great. The reason I decided to do that instead of just mounting it straight down to the hump here is because this is not exactly flat. And so I was able to use this in combination with some washers to kind of get the perfect height. So now it's nice and level and looks great. And it's very secure. And also the cable, it was a plus to get the cable to run up underneath it and come up tucked up underneath it, nice and neat. That turned out to be just a bonus. I hadn't really intended that, but it came out really slick. And I also think that it may actually give us a little bit more heat dissipation capability with airflow all the way around this thing. So real happy with it. So the next time I see you, I will be up at camp, and I'll be showing you the entire back of the GX with it all outfitted with all my gear. Hey everyone, it's John Wright, and I'm back from a trip up to World's End State Park, and we took a day trip over to the PA Grand Canyon. And Joe and I had to leave a little early, so we headed out late Saturday, and we're back in Lancaster. But special thanks to Bill and his custom Jeep Liberty with his 2 boys who put on the trip, and also to Paul from our Facebook group who advertised it, and also kind of tail end, kept us in line and all together, and we appreciate you, Paul, for doing that. And Paul's a fantastic 4Runner. Also Ed with his 4Runner, I met him for the first time, and Don with his F250, and Don brought his son. We had a great time. And of course we also had the FJ Cruiser of Jason from Damon Adventures. It was pretty cool to meet you, and had a great time. So didn't get a great shot with the back of the GX next to the scenery, but I have some shot here. I'll put some footage while I'm talking. But great time if you ever get a chance to go up and take a look at some of the scenery and get a chance to ride some trails. So thought maybe just show you, this is what it looks like when I'm all packed in with the truck. And I've got my refrigerator here, and you know that I've got in the corner there, we've got, the inverter and bed and all the luggage, of course, all the stuff at the top, and on the tail end of this rig, of course, I don't know if you can see it there. There it is. I got my rack and my propane tank and traction boards that go on the back. So really cool. Had a great time and tested out the tech, and the inverter worked great. Of course, my portable power station that I have, you know, it ran down to about, maybe 75%, you know, after a night. I was running my electric blanket at the night, and during the day, you know, we were camping, you know, I was running the refrigerator. You can, you know, if it's 30 degrees out, you don't have to run the refrigerator. I found out you can just plug in your electric blanket and kind of save that. I was thinking originally I might get a splitter to run my 12 volt to both of those, but I woke up, the refrigerator was still at 37 degrees in the morning. Of course, it was 30 degrees outside. So probably not going to be running the electric blanket in the summertime. So I don't know if you need to do that. You probably could just do one or the other if you got a good insulated refrigerator freezer in the back of your truck. So great. We run for a couple hours, back to 100%. Inverter charged that up just sweet. Everything went great. Can't complain at all with everything that we tested out. The rack worked great. That was the first time we used it. I ran the propane off the back of that. It was nice and sturdy. Gave us more room inside. And the electronics worked flawless. So with that, hope you enjoyed the video and give you your idea for your rig. Please like and subscribe. Thanks.